Hey guys, this is another episode of the Infectious Geek, and I'm pretty excited because I finally found a really awesome co host. And I want to introduce you guys to him. His name is Kevin, and he likes to be referred to as the Autistic Wizard.
Hello.
Hello, how are you today, Kevin?
Doing excellent.
Oh, good. All right. So, when we first started talking, you started talking about this mysterious black goo, and then you've been on my mind ever since. So I had a couple questions, and you really hit it out of the park. I have to say with research.
Thank you.
All right, so let's start with the basics. What is the black goo's scientific name? Like, what is it actually?
All right, so the black goo is called as such because it stands for graphene oxide, so it's often abbreviated as GO or goo, and it's a single layer of graphene. It's basically a two-dimensional hexagonal structure of carbon atoms.
Okay.
Yeah, right. Like that makes more sense than before, huh? It was actually discovered by a scientist just a couple of years ago, putting tape on graphite and peeling it off into thinner and thinner layers, and discovered it has all these practically magical properties.
Right.
It's being used from everything to supposedly the structure is stronger than diamonds, so it's being used to build armor. It's being used for a lot of different stuff.
Oh wow, that's crazy. So, but I was doing a little bit of research myself because I didn't want to like be completely in the dark, and it was discovered in 2004. Is that correct?
Well, I would want to say rediscovered, or its potential was discovered in
Okay.
2004. As we'll dive much deeper here shortly, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, all right. Let me see. How did graphene get discovered? You kind of went through that with the peeling apart of the graphite layers, correct?
With masking tape, believe it or not. Just like I saw a video on how you can make your own, and you're taking basically like graphite and a pencil
Yeah.
and pressing tape up against it and peeling it off until it's thinner and thinner layers.
That's
Um,
crazy. So it's like an onion almost,
well,
right?
I have like little quotes here on how the scientists discovered. I just really don't think anybody will understand it more that way.
Right.
But it says it's a two-dimensional structured material with hexagonal honeycomb lattice composed of carbon atoms just one atom thick. Since the layers themselves are just an atom high, you need about 3 million of these layers just to equal 1 millimeter. So it is the
Wow.
thinnest and strongest, most durable material we've pretty much found to date.
This is like elven armor from the Lord of the Rings, you know? Like, this is like and we're going to talk about the Alien
I
versus
stand in the
Predator.
argument on Clerks 2 on Lord of the Rings. A bunch of people walking.
uh, but okay, so all right. There's been a lot of hubbub about this goo. Honestly, there was something about a Russian death. There was on a Russian death sub. What was that about?
Right, so this story goes a bit back. I think I sent you an article on this as well. Let's see here. I have all of this stuff bookmarked. Okay, so forgive me if I butcher any of these names. I don't speak Russian
Right.
at all. I'm
Excuse us.
ADHD, not
Yeah.
Russian. You know. So it was discovered in like 2004, 2005, like you said. But that was just a guy who got a Nobel Prize for the little tape experiment that I was mentioning. Um, it's actually mentioned in a couple X Files episodes. They refer to it as black oil. There's a lot of controversy surviving this stuff. Some people think like it could be the saving or the destruction of the world. And this death sub, I guess you put it so
Yeah.
eloquently.
Yeah.
There was a story. I can't find the date on here. Okay, there it is. August 13th, 2003, about a Russian submarine for deep exploration called the Losherik, if I'm saying that right. It underwent a catastrophic explosion after taking aboard mysterious black goo discovered on the hull of a UFO that had supposedly crashed nearby. And I don't make up these facts. This is coming from the operator's telling these stories. But they found this sample, and either accidentally or intentionally, there's some details missing here. It made its way into the reactor core and almost blew this whole ship up. It triggered a fire all over the ship. It killed 14 sailors. There were 5 different versions of the story that came out afterwards of trying to cover up what's going on here. Let's see. I have the names if you want it here as well. Everything from Russian FSB operator Dmitry Osmovich. He's the one telling this story here. Yeah, like I said, I might butcher their names. Forgive me. Captain Sergei Pavlov, an aide to the commander in Russia's Navy, died trying to stop this fire from spreading on the submarine. And he claims that not only did he just save lives trying to stop this stuff from getting out, but argues that he's saving the world. So that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Everything from, again, I can't say these things, Mesgory, ET research, alien intrusion. They ordered pieces of the ship to be burned. They ordered, even against the wills of the survivors of this stuff. I mean, not the survivors, against the wills of like whether you want to be cremated or not. Vladimir Putin had ordered that all of these bodies should be burned. So there was a big scare over this stuff. They cut apart the reactor, and they found about 5 kilograms of this substance, this brittle like some black sand that was comparable to what was formerly seen outside of the reactor, but just before the fire was a black goo. And we believe this is the substance that I can't even think now. You got me on the rabbit hole now. But we believe this is the graphene oxide, and there's lots of interesting experiments being done right now with it on what we can do with it scientifically. To quote this article here, it's a truly exotic element. We still don't know what it is. Tests are still being done. It was believed to be a sentient life form that either died in the reactor compartment or broke down to its constituent components and is now dormant. They even went on to say whether it's maliciously caused the fire or it was protecting itself. Like, they believed this to be alive, that we can't say for sure. But Osmovich says it's certainly not of this earth.
Right. Wasn't there was an anime graphic novel, and I don't remember what it was called.
It might be outside my scope with the anime.
I don't know any anime either, but
I watched realistic anime like Ghost in the Shell.
Yeah,
maybe Full Metal Alchemist and stuff.
Yeah. Ghost Blade. Do you remember that one? Okay, so anyway, there was one. The reason let's do something I know a little bit more about. Okay, there are so many movies and stuff that have been, and shows and stories and all sorts of stuff that
Spider-Man 3.
Yeah, Spider-Man 3, The Day the Earth Stood Still. There's so many of them, right? And you wouldn't. Lucy is a perfect example of it.
Dozens and dozens and dozens easily. There's something to this. We're just barely scratching at the surface at, because it can't be coincidental that it's plastered everywhere.
Right.
And this is in your Illuminati type music videos, and you got another controversy. What was her name? Greta Thunberg, I think it was, the climate change girl with the one eye covering her face in this black tar. Why is that even related to climate change? I mean, you got to ask some questions there. Like, I covered myself in black oil because global warming.
Right. I think that with all the unknowns, like you were talking about this alien versus predator becoming like real.
Well, it has a lot of interesting properties. It can change color depending on what it's exposed to. It's the only material. It's kind of backwards. Like heat and cold affects it the opposite as it does most things. So the idea is it might render people optically transparent, and the stuff is so thin, and yet just 2 layers of the stuff. And you remember how thin I just described? It would take 3 million layers to create a millimeter, right?
Yeah.
So like just 2 of those layers, and it's impenetrable to diamond. So
yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So okay, how dangerous is it? Like, let's there's going to be a warning label on it, obviously.
Maybe. You can buy the stuff for like $30 on Amazon right now. I don't
You
know if there's
can.
enough of a warning label because there are like so many things. We're all excited about the new technologies that we're pumping it up like some possible savior of the world. Some miracle cure this. It's being used in hair dyes. Like you'll keep your over 30 washes, still keep that genuine color that you wanted to dye your hair. It's being used in a lot of products, slowly being introduced to stuff. But the dangers are about as numerous as the as the alleged benefits.
Yeah.
I have a list of stuff in here. Let's see. I mean, mostly like there was a scare. I'm going to just freestyle because it'll be faster than sifting through a lot of this material. There was a scare that it might be even being put in these vaccines. You can't say too much there, but
that's I mean, no, let's talk about that for a second.
In Japan, they had found, quote, black particulates, whatever that means, and then suddenly recalled a batch of these vaccines. Whether they recalled it because we figured it out or not, I mean, I'm all for conspiracy. Who knows?
Yeah.
But it's comparable when you look at this stuff. If you research ferrofluid, ferro means magnetic for those who might not know out there listening. Research ferrofluid on Amazon. Just go through there and search for that. And you'll find the last thumbnail is actually a video of this stuff with a drill and a magnet on the drill. And they're manipulating the fluid with the drill. And it's creating these weird spikes and learning from the magnetic fields that it's being exposed to. So if you compare that to some of the stuff happening from certain inoculations, I'm not going to say which ones. If you compare it to the so-called spiked proteins, you could say that it's this stuff getting into your body. And there's a lot of conspiracy nuts out there. Some saying that it's being spread in the chemtrails. There's old stories of Alex Jones talking about this, about nanoparticles being spread through the air and it's in your drinking water. Well, the Russian submarine thing that I derailed from a little bit, supposedly when all this happens, they got scared. Like this stuff was alive. It was attacking them allegedly, and they threw it into the sewers. And the conspiracy starts pretty much there, that it's going through the waters and the bacterias and learning from it. Supposedly it's telepathically communicating with people. I know. I didn't come up with it. I wish I was so creative.
I know. God, we could be making millions off of our books if we came up with this,
But so there's a lot of health benefits, and mostly I think it's because it has basically the ability to penetrate cells, and also like some of the vaccine stuff you've heard with the RNA. It's supposed to stay in one localized region, but then somehow spreads throughout the body. Well, only something like a little over 50% of this stuff is urinated or excreted out. So we end up retaining a lot of this, and it has the ability to be manipulated with sound waves and with magnetic fields. So it's creating all kinds of problems. I mean, everything we use is, I'm not right now, but wireless and Bluetooth, and it's in the air. So it puts us at incredible risk if we're inhaling or imbibing in this stuff in some way. And it sounds like it's being put in more things than it's not in. But the conspiracy goes that that's why I called it demonic goo. That it's only a threat to you if you're a threat to it. So maybe we just need to embrace our black goo overlords.
Yes.
I told a buddy of mine that since he called about this stuff, and he said he was very anti-vaccine, but once he heard my argument, now he wants to go get it.
Well, I mean, and Kinte was saying whistles. There's an X-Files episode about this, right?
There's 5 X-Files episodes on it. Nisi, 731, Tunfuska, Terma, and Apocrypha.
That's his show. That's Kinte's show.
Oh, nice. I love it. Yeah. I was raised on it. My mom, thank you.
Yeah. So, all right. So, with all this stuff that I'm going to get back to the vaccines for a second, because it's interesting.
Tread carefully if we want this to stay alive now.
Yeah. I don't want to get murdered in my sleep, but
no, not murder. Just, as well as I do, free speech is greatly targeted these days, and you can't say anything against pretty much the people in power that make the big bucks. We can draw speculation. We can say, as one of your episodes did before, barely tackling it, saying you need to do your own research. but we do kind of have to tread carefully on, or we were called misinformation, even though we
Right.
prefaced it calling it conspiracy. You understand?
Yeah, but so okay, with what I wanted to get into is you kind of you touched on it for a second, but like the ability this stuff has to learn. Like, so what I'm thinking is like, what about cancer? Like, can it help cancer? Can they research, like,
There are some promises for that. I mean, I'm no scientist, so take my opinions with a grain of salt. But I've seen articles suggesting that it has biosensory capability. People are getting tattoos made out of this stuff. It looks like some cool tribal design, but it's technology, and it can keep track of your heart rate and your body temperature and the moisture and hydration in your skin. So
that's crazy.
this is a miracle, whatever it
Yeah.
is, or demon, who knows. They're saying this stuff is as old as Adam and Eve, that it's been around forever, and we're just now really starting to know about it, really.
Maybe this is what takes us to the next level, Kevin.
That's scary. I'll tell you something. I don't have a strong sense of fear, but when I first started reading about this stuff, I'm like, I think I found something I'm a little afraid of.
Yeah.
For real.
For me, it's
demon sentient liquid, a living organism that can learn and be manipulated through a body and change genetics. That's crazy. If there's something to be terrified of, it's an invisible force that we can breathe in and people can control from a distance.
Yeah, like this is science fiction come to life, really.
Oh yeah. I've seen a lot of videos where people are talking about like an elevator that can take us to space based off of some fantasy novel. I can't recall what it was. I just saw it today. But they're saying with graphene, we might be able to make that possible. We can make near non-existent walls out of this stuff with all these properties of regulating heat and electricity and do things that we've never been able to do before, like charging a cell phone to full battery power in under 15 minutes, 3,500 times, and not lose any of the capacity. So this is a miracle substance. The applications are only as limited as whatever we can come up with.
Do you think that like the rich people, the 1%ers, are sitting around with bowls full of graphene, being like, like that they have the secrets of life and all this stuff, and like us peasants, we just have no idea. Now we're starting to figure it out. They're like, oh no, this doesn't exist. Our secret,
I'm sure you've seen the necklace that I wear. Fun fact: the word occult simply means secret, and anybody in power, they got a lot of secrets and a lot of knowledge. Anybody who rises up the ranks knows at least psychology or some form of science to manipulate their way to the top. I've seen blocks of graphene depicted in Corona logos and stuff. Supposedly they paraded a block of this stuff at the UN. I don't know if that's true, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's something like half of these religions that these elites worship are very earth-based, very idol-based. I wouldn't be surprised if they worship to something that they can witness with extraordinary properties. If I had a copy of this stuff, I would sit on it. Yeah. And do my mantras right there.
Yeah. Exactly. I
want to get some to study, actually.
Yeah.
But I've heard some interesting stories. I've heard, now I know this is from another nut. I can't prove this yet, but I'm going to continue to do research and make a video about this in the future and find out for sure. But I've heard if you take a jar of this stuff that you can agitate it and shake it and it'll try to escape. I've heard if you put 2 jars of this stuff near each other, do they try to merge with each other? So I'm curious to find out if that's real or not. It wants to be with itself. What does that say for us? We're going to be exterminated or something.
Right. That's what I'm scared of. Like, if we know too much, we're just going to be taken out. Like,
a lot of people think it's part of the transhumanist agenda and building us to be half cyborg. Because if this does, if it is so harmful to humans, and in many ways it is, while in other ways it can help us, the only way to combat that harm would be with implementation of implants and technology and stuff in us. So we're going to be the Borg soon enough. On one hand, I'm excited. But on the other hand, it means the death of individualism when we go down that rabbit hole.
Yes.
But as someone with Asperger's, I'd be probably pretty comfortable.
Yeah, that kind of like it's mind blowing because let's talk about some of these things that it can do. Okay, so or let's theorize maybe it can do. Like, can it affect our dopamine and serotonin levels? Would this be a good like?
Well, if you can alter DNA with it, I'd say that you could pretty much do anything. It would depend how it's introduced to your system and what it's being manipulated with and where it is in your system, which apparently has the ability to travel and be redirected. People are talking about laserless surgery with this stuff because you could just manipulate somebody with magnets, which I forget what it's called, but there was studies with people since the 40s swallowing magnetic sand and allegedly like almost like laying hands like a healer, moving the sand around in their bodies with magnets to cure them. So it's not beyond science that we've already tried, but I do have a list of some of the things we've already used it for. We can go over that.
Yes, let's do that.
So graphene can stretch 25% of its own length, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
The material is harder than diamonds. Next to nothing can penetrate graphene. I saw one video suggest that a pencil made out of diamonds with an elephant standing on top still wouldn't damage this stuff.
Wow.
Here's where I was talking about earlier with the shift of temperature. It expands when cooled and shrinks when warm. No other material we know does this. Not one atom of helium can squeeze through graphene, but electricity, it's practically a super battery. Right. Graphene can be used to make water drinkable no matter how dirty it is. It can be used as a thermal insulator, although it doesn't sound safer to me, to replace harmful chemicals sprayed on the wings of airplanes. I've seen videos, this is on YouTube if you want to check it out, of people using liquid nitrogen and trying to freeze the black goo, which it doesn't want to do, but if you overdo the liquid nitrogen, eventually it will. But within, I want to say a minute, it already starts to return to itself. That's freaking incredible.
No, yeah.
I don't know what the language barrier is here. I mentioned about using the optically transparent, like Alien versus Predator. It's going to be used to make flexible electronic screens. There's prototypes of this stuff where it looks like a wrist cuff, but you got your computer right here, like a gauntlet / computer. Yeah.
Oh, that would be badass.
Well, I'm terrified, dude. I'm all for technology, but this, I don't know how I feel yet. Elon Musk's phones, the Tesla and SpaceX and all that stuff. He's combining all the technologies. It's not out yet, but he's working on this fancy new phone that basically combines everything his companies have worked on for the past however many years they've been in existence, all into one magnificent new device. This device will charge with sunlight with graphene built into the shell of it. This is a crap phone, but you can visualize where the screen changes colors because of the heat and cooling elements where I mentioned. So it can change colors depending on that. So you're, instead of buying fancy LED stuff, you already have that, and because of the hardness, you don't got to worry about smashing your phone. It's just fucking phenomenal. It eliminates rust. It's antibacterial. Those are the things that we know so far.
So
yeah, I know. How is it antibacterial?
This is like the miracle goo right here. Like this is like the. Why are they putting it in bottles and selling it? Like.
Well, why do they sell psilocybin mushrooms for scientific purposes, alleged? I think, now, I don't know if I'm allowed to say what I think.
Of course you are. That's the beauty of the show.
For now.
Let's call this a trial.
I think, okay, the elites believe in a lot of stuff. It don't matter what we believe. We just have to understand that they have unique beliefs. Just like a Christian might not like a Satanist, and Satanist might not like a Christian. Well, these guys have their own sets of stuff, from the Bohemian Grove rituals to Moloch and Mormon, or Mormo, rather. You know, they have a lot of unique beliefs. I think that this is, as much as a physical substance as a spiritual substance, I would suggest that they want to introduce this to as much as humanity as possible and try to manipulate it from the inside up. Okay. Whether we call that science or demons, or it's all just lingo, rigmarole rhetoric, you know. I think that this is the next step we take. We've heard in the occult world, and we don't explain things in the occult because the damn word means secret. So the less you know, the better for us in control, right?
Right.
But we've heard the days of binding demons in circles are over, you know. So what if this is that next step? You know, we're imbibing. I'm drinking Monster right now. Have you ever read one of these cans?
Yes,
You
and
know,
the additives are crazy. Like
well,
what? The-
can I touch on a little of this?
yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Okay, so there's an ancient Greek or Roman myth about a potion that summons the beast, but you don't become a beast until you consume the last drop. So let's start there. The O on this can, I don't know if I'll get a good shot of it. Okay, it's flat at the top with a stake through. Okay, you're not going to be able to see that, but you can Google it. Oh, there we go.
Okay, yeah, I see
Okay,
it.
as
Yeah.
long as I keep it at an angle. Okay, so it's basically an O with a flat top and a spike down the middle, essentially a cross through a circle.
Okay.
If were you to consume the last drop, you'd be inverting the cross. If that's not enough for you, bear with me. Its slogan is "Unleash the Beast." It is the meanest energy drink on the planet, and it says all kinds of wild temptation stuff on the bottle, occasionally changing, but those are the parts that don't. And its logo is the sixth Hebrew letter, 666, repeated 3 times. The sixth Hebrew letter, because back then it was words. So it was Vav, and Vav meant nail. So that's the 3 nails to the cross. If there was a deity to piss off and do some blasphemous, this is all in one spot, you know. So the point I'm making, though, which is entirely coincidental, maybe, that I'm drinking Monster right now, is we imbibe the beast. We imbibe toxins. We put dumb into our body all the time. We use the 5G technology. I mean, what's one more step to drink a poison or take a medicine that has never been tried before, but was talked about 10 years ago, about creating a situation to convince us to try a new type of medicine? Who's to say this isn't just the next way to take over the world, even?
Right.
And I mean, the brain chips, when you think about, I mean, I told you I was a little bit into conspiracy. We have a monkey. Okay, you can check out my blog if you'd like, kevinsportal.com, all kinds of crazy stuff. I've only got like 6 entries to the blog, but one of it covers Elon Musk with the Neuralink being implanted into a monkey who played Pong with his mind. They unplugged the controller on him after he learned how this stuff works, and he's projecting the same brainwaves to play the game with his mind. So if this is the next step for us, who's the ones running these controls? How much science do each of your individual viewers know? You know, there's no helping yourself. You're not part of the special club. Who knows what's going on, you know? So we only have but so much science, and then leave the rest to our trusted leaders.
Yes, and then, you know, I we'll get into my political views in another episode, probably.
Oh, I forgot about the light.
Oh, you forgot about the light. Anyway, okay, so I think that this is so it's going to be kept under wraps until they think that it's ready to be revealed, you know. And it.
I love how stumped you are right now. It's beautiful.
No, I just want to know.
What do I think?
I mean, I want to know more about this stuff, like scientifically. Like, I want to see it, like, be rust proof, or I want to see it, you know, like I want to see it.
You can catch some of that. You can see some of the science online. A really fun thing to look at is there's this guy. I'll see if I can come back and maybe you can update a description or something with more accurate information. But there was a guy who used the stuff and made his own venom suit. It still took like hours for it to completely submerge in his body, but all he did was dip his arm in a tub of this stuff while wearing like beads or something for it to latch onto. And over the span of about an hour and a half, it crawled and made the black suit around him like the symbiote would in Spider-Man 3. And it looks baller, but they had to play it in fast motion for it to look cool for us because it took a really long time for it to learn what it was supposed to do when he touched it.
Yeah.
But that's still pretty incredible to me.
That's what superhero costumes, guys. This is real stuff. And then they can make the weapons out of it. And like, I mean, Superman's just right around the corner, right? Like this is real stuff.
I don't think we need new weapons. We can blow up a car from space. We got quantum teleportation coming down, almost perfected now. I mean, We're getting there. All the Star Trekian dreams we could have had are happening in front of our face, you know?
I know. You know what? It's like 20 years from now. Like, you know, my boyfriend and I, we have these VR headsets, the Oculuses, and
I'm
like
sorry.
they're really cool. They're really
Yeah.
cool. But
Death is very fun.
like the Beat
That's
Saber.
why you're going to get the brain chip.
No, no. So I'm playing this game called Beat Saber, and I'm going, I'm doing the thing, but then I'm looking at the graphics of this game, and it's not that it's coming at you, and you feel like you're there, and the virtual world is doing its job, but like whenever you like whenever I do this. Have you heard of Free Man Fly?
No.
Okay.
Free Man Fly. What is that? On a system? PC? What is that?
I don't know. I guess Kinte will tell us in a second. But
I mean, it could be a game. It could be a theory. I have no idea.
It could be anything, really. It's interesting. But, this stuff is like so it's like the automatic I don't know. It's like the miracle tonic, when we put cocaine in Coca-Cola. Like, why didn't they put something there,
I think here's another conspiracy for you to follow. He's a person who does conspiracy talk. I'll definitely look into it after we do all of this, promise. I hate being uneducated. People tell me something. The first thing this nerd does is go do an unnecessary amount of research. Damn, I forgot my thought now. That was a good distraction.
Yeah, I forgot my thought earlier too. I do that all the time.
I usually do pretty good. I remember like 90% of the things that I go through. It's a blessing and a curse.
Yeah. So yeah, but this should have been like in the 1800s, bottled up and sold on the market as the all-inclusive miracle cure. But I don't think that honestly we would appreciate all of its properties until right now.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. See, people in power or the victors of war, however you look at things, they get to write the history books. They get to tell how the story goes and stuff. Like the fact that there was electricity in Egypt, but since it's not traditional with unnecessary wires running through everything, we didn't want to acknowledge that possibility until way later studying their culture. And they used like running channels of water and all kinds of stuff to generate power. So like a lot of stuff is kind of skewed by the storytellers. The same thing was done with Pocahontas. You ask a Native American what happened versus what your history books will tell you. It's going to be a whole different version of events. I won't dive deep into that, but I think when it comes to technology and power, the best visual example would probably be Stargate SG-1. You get these off-worlders coming by, and they have these technological tools with the serpents and scary shit on them.
Yeah.
So now it's basically a taser on a fucking stick.
Now it makes me wonder what.
But you've never seen that. Imagine being a caveman or something. If someone else was the person to introduce to you fire, you'd be fucking scared shitless and bow down and worship this god.
Yeah.
There's conspiracies on Jesus coming back around again, and they say the first Jesus is going to be a false guy with a bunch of advanced technology. I think we rewrite the history books all the time. I think there's a reason why the noses were chopped off, the sphinxes and stuff, and it's to kind of hide heritage a little bit there. They destroy all the old statues. We did that again recently, like as if we're breaking down Columbus statues is going to change, at least for a while. We're going to remember the stuff, but eventually there's an old Native American expression for it. A story or a spirit is only alive as long as there's a storyteller to tell a story.
Yeah, you're right.
And eventually the storytellers will die because their family line might die. We found cures for cancer before, but every time it happens, the doctors mysteriously disappear. The world is a market. It's who holds the pen, who holds the real power. And I recommend this book to people actually a lot. But The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene kind of shows how a lot of people like Napoleon, Genghis Khan, historical examples, the Medici family, how they rose up to power, how they acted, how they would engage with people. And it shows a lot of the psychology really on how you have to run things, like
Right.
keeping an iron fist in a velvet glove, appearing as the paragon of excellence, never outshining the master. I think when we understand this, it shows that basically we've had a big circle of the wheel. We've had all of this stuff before, one way or another, and the genius is sneaking under the rug.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like with the one percenters, it's like there's so many things that I want to talk about. I think we definitely need to do a conspiracy theory show
absolutely.
next, because
Absolutely.
I think the black goo is really giving us
It's a gateway.
to so many things.
To what? Stay tuned, folks.
Exactly. You know how to market. So, but all this stuff goes back to how maybe we don't really appreciate some things that are right in front of our faces, because as you said, this stuff has been around forever, and
we're just rediscovering it.
Yeah, we're just rediscovering it. But why isn't it any, like you said, they wrote the history books. So, you know, this is something that we definitely need to keep an eye on. I want to see if they shut this down too. This will be an interesting in my lifetime.
Well, they're not going to shut it down. They're already censoring the internet in every way. Every year comes back a different version, the COPA bill, the SOPA bill, and now the latest way of trying to do it is calling everything misinformation or terrorism. So they're not going to shut it down because it's a big part. See, in my view of things, the Illuminati, or the ruling classes and families, people in power of the world, they don't care if something takes longer than a lifetime to accomplish, because their children's inherit all the treasure.
Yeah,
so they can do very long-lasting plans, and it's all like a domino effect. We're just going to slowly rediscover all this stuff, but will we figure it out too late? I'd like to also point at, even biblically speaking, how we share information, how we've always had to share information for it to work. Why did Jesus use parables? Is a really good question. Why did he speak a metaphor? Because you can't show someone love, and you can't talk about intelligence when someone is going to stone you to death. If you do so. There was something called numerology, or arithmancy. The number of the beast, for it is the number of a man. They were talking about Nero, a corrupt king dictator. But instead, the only way to really be able to tell that story is to call him the great beast. And to kind of fluff it up a little bit so people can't immediately know what you're talking about. That's how we've had to do it. Even in Jewish circles, like Ring Around the Rosie, the bubonic plague, we had to tell things in song. The same thing for prisons, and slaves had to learn martial arts and hide it and dance. You're not allowed to have any power that could go against. You know how long it takes to build something on this planet?
Yeah, it takes forever. And I think that's what's interesting too, is like one of our big assets as Americans, at least, is the ability to go to so many different environments. And I'm thinking with the black goo, I'm getting back to the subject for a second. Like I'm thinking like geothermal technology and all that stuff, wind power, solar power, all that stuff can be
thing of the past with this.
Thing of the past. Like this is crazy.
It's going to replace the silicon chips that were out of the materials to mine from the earth, practically. Which, can you imagine that we've pretty much raped the earth of all her essence at this point?
We're such Vikings when it comes to the planet.
It's horrible. We stab big signposts into her face and pave over her and suffocate her, to create fancy roads.
Yeah. Our fancy roads and our...
No one thinks about stuff the way that I do, but it is bizarre when you stop to think about how destructive we are as humans, how much control we wish we had and pretend we have, just to dominate everybody else, to make our own insignificant, tiny ass, short little life a little bit easier.
Yeah. That's another subject that I want to talk about, actually. All right, so all right,
I'm
so
gonna give you like 10 episodes off of this one
I
to
know.
hope for, huh?
Okay, so next week we're going to talk about. Well, we have an interview next week, so I'll talk to you more about that later. But the week after we're going to do conspiracy theories, and I really want Kinte to come on here because we had a really good time the last time we could talk to conspiracies. But so all right.
So where's all these extra people? Weren't there going to be a couple other guests here with us?
Yeah, but Kinte couldn't make it on time, and Josh decided to just sit out. So he's still.
I look forward to meeting them in the future.
Yeah, they're behind the scenes, but they're there.
The Great Oz.
Yes. I loved that movie, The Wizard of Oz. Okay, so
we'll have to talk about that in a conspiracy episode.
Yes, because oh my god,
yeah. Too much right now.
Too much, mind blowing. But all right, so let's. Thanks, Josh. Okay, so I think this is good wrap up time for this episode, but I think we definitely have a lot to work on now. This has been a good starting block for a lot of different things in this season of Infectious Geek, and I'm super stoked about it. So let's take time and tell everybody how we can get each other on social media. So Kevin, how can we get you on social media?
You mean like where can you find me on the web?
Yeah, yep. Like what's your Instagram and what's your Facebook?
My Facebook is probably a pretty quick way to contact me. Really easy to remember, anything to get at me too. As you pointed out, I'm quite the marksman.
Yeah.
Facebook.com/Kevin Chaos Official.
Okay. Cool.
I also have a website, kevinsportal.com, a portal to all things Kevin. No matter what I'm doing, you'll find it there. After Christmas, there's some documentaries and some interesting stuff there. The updates every little minor unnecessary thing section on the site. So you'll always see what I'm working on or what I'm installing. Oh, nice touch there.
Yeah.
I love the techie already.
All right. So you guys can catch me on Instagram at Rush Tori, and Tori is spelled with a Y. And you can also get me on Facebook, Tori Rush. It's just the opposite. Get it? Anyway. And I'm going to start a TikTok. I know I said I wasn't going to do it, but I think I'm going to try it and see how it is. And so thank you, Josh, for that. And yeah, so next week we're going to interview. Well, I'm going to make the announcement later on, like whenever I do the event planning for Facebook. Anyway, we'll see everybody next week.
Thank you for having me on.
You're welcome. Yeah, we'll see you next week. All right.